Hey everybody, it's pal Drew Dracy, and I hadn't really planned on doing a new episode just yet, but I was going through my bookshelves and I came across this, which I already had in Marvel Masterworks form, The Bride of Ultron with the Avengers. This is probably, within two covers, my favorite era of the Avengers ever. You have to skip the Lee and Kirby stuff, because Lee and Kirby, they started it all. But afterwards, there were great runs. Roy Thomas did a fantastic long run. Steve Englehart did a long, fantastic run. John Buscema, etc., etc. But I guess when I was reading comics, I really hit a sweet spot. And it's funny because I know so many people my age, in my late 50s, who love the same things and bought the same comics, but for some reason Marvel didn't really turn a big profit. And I think maybe because in the mid-70s Marvel was kind of a mess. They did a lot of reprints. They did a lot of how can I put it? They just didn't seem very well organized, because I would think they sold pretty well. They didn't have to pay royalties either back then. Royalties didn't really get initiated until Jim Shooter came along, I think in 1980. So despite the fact they had low overhead in general, for some reason, they were still struggling, year to year in the 70s. And you had a lot of fanboy hippies running the show, and if I was around at the time, I'd be one of them. And so maybe the accounting wasn't quite right. Who knows? I'm not saying anybody stole anything. I'm just saying carelessness and running late on deadlines was the word of the day. Anyway, The Bride of Ultron. This is Marvel Premiere Edition. This format came out in the mid-2000s. It reprinted stuff like the Black Widow stories from Amazing Adventures, but it was poorly done. It was a lot of lines dropped off, and it wouldn't be till like a later Daredevil Marvel Masterworks that we'd see a really nice. What was that? It's not like a police car. They're coming to take me away. The Bride of Ultron. I can't help it every time I see that. So, I love this matte finish and glossy finish. That's really cool. But this is my era of the Avengers. Jim Shooter, when he first came on board, he was really kicking ass. There's two eras of the Avengers that he did. The first era was great. The second one was really crappy, I thought. Now check this out. 2 writers, 5 pencilers, and 1 inker. Pablo Marcos, keeping it all together. And I love it. I mean, to me, it was just like when Joe Sinnott would ink every issue of Fantastic Four, no matter who the penciler was. He kept a familiarity, I guess, between issues. Pablo Marcos inking Don Heck, I believe, is the very first time they've worked together, and I love the result. And many people say, oh, it's best when Heck inked himself. And when it comes to superhero stuff, I completely disagree. If he's doing westerns or romances and stuff, but this is some of the best mid-70s Don Heck work I've seen in a long time, and Pablo's Marcos has a lot to do with it. Jerry Conway is the writer-editor for this one last issue, and it's just beautiful. Doing Iron Man, who he did for many, many years. I really got tired of Yellow Jacket and the Wasp, because eventually they always got taken out pretty quick. They just would show, buzz around. Their only power was to distract the villain. Yellow Jacket and the Wasp, all they could do is distract the villain, never take a villain out. And I just thought they were pointless after a while. And that's the way they were written. They're good characters and they have good powers, but they were always sort of treated as like, let's get them out of the way. So the Avengers can take it out, and It is Dan Whitman, the Black Knight. And the Beast is underneath this huge cabinet. And he's like, but he's gone, he's dead. But he's like, everything is stone. And it goes back to the Avengers Defenders War. Some metal hand, I don't know what the deal is, comes out, touches that statue, and sets it free. And Cap is hanging at the kitchen, and he's like, don't argue with on Christmas Eve. You're both good cooks. Why not leave it at that? Mind your own business, Cap. This so-called cook wants to add sugar to my plum pudding. I merely offered a suggestion, Ms. Pym. However, I might add... Crash. Whoa, Black Knight. He's attacking Jan. Gets smacked. And what I really like about that smack, it's like right behind the ear. I don't even know if like Heck intended that, but man, that would hurt even more than the average smack from a stone guy. Yeah, stone statues hit me all the time, but if they hit me right there, I really don't like it. She thinks it's an act. She shrinks out of her clothes into her costume. Same thing happens. Da, 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 da. So I really thought they were they should have retired from the Avengers permanently, because they really didn't, in my opinion, contribute much. Years later, she became the leader. The Wasp became the leader all through the 80s, and that was fine and all, but it's just, other than that, Yellow Jacket and the Wasp, they really didn't get their time in the sun. There was one Marvel team-up issue that had, it was by Claremont and Byrne, which was a two-parter. It had Spider-Man and Yellow Jacket, and it was Yellow Jacket's finest hour. He was fighting Equinox, who's a guy who's like half flame, half ice. And then the next issue was with the Wasp, who thought that Yellow Jacket was dead, but he wasn't. So they flash back a bit, and then you see Wonder Man. Woo! I just dodged a big old sneeze. So there's Wonder Man out of his costume for, I think, the first time since he's come back. I really took a liking to Wonder Man. He has no real distinguished powers. He's just super strong. But a lot of times when people are reading a team book, whether it's Fantastic Four, Avengers, Justice League, especially the latter two, because the teams change so much, and you'll get a new character that comes in, and if that character comes in when you're reading the book, it's like you're seeing it through their eyes. So I really took a shine to Wonder Man. And also he knocked Submariner on his ass pretty quick. At the time, I didn't like Submariner because nobody knew how to write him in the 70s. They just made him a one-note hothead a-hole who wouldn't listen to reason. And it wasn't until years later that I understood that it was just like a blip. And he was hot-tempered, but he was also regal and very sensible. He was a true monarch. So, bust out of control. I love that outfit that Wanda has on. So Wonder Man stops that bus. They're like, there's only one man that tall and that strong. Wonder Man, forget him. There's a Scarlet Witch. Oops. They have to hit the road. Jarvis is all in tatters. And she's like, don't open that door. Who on earth are you? Never mind that, you creep. If you've hurt Wanda, I'll smash you to a pulp. Love that. Love that. Love that. Although this is one of those things where he gets thrown. I mean, he in the early issues, they repeat that he punches as hard as Thor's hammer. The stone Black Knight throws him into a mailbox and he's out. So it's one of the conveniences for the story to progress. It would not have done that. Sometimes power levels change according to plots. I know that's obvious, but I don't think it's stated enough. So he's like, you're not Dane Whitman. I am, blah, blah, blah. He tells all this story here. And he goes, what do you know of my suffering? I know what I was told by Doctor Strange, who witnessed your stony transformation. Do you remember it now, creature? Do you? The Enchantress being a world-class biatch, Use Dane Whitman and then turn into stone. Anyway, that day Dane Whitman's spirit left his body forever. Today resides in the 12th century, where it's being summoned by Merlin's magic to inhabit the form of Whitman's ancestor. You are just a ghost of stone. No, I am the Black Knight. Like that a lot, that crumble. So he's basically destroying himself, going up against Vision, who is hard as a diamond. And he stops at nothing to destroy himself. And what I find interesting is that they've never, ever, ever followed up on that mechanical hand that made him wake up, or the stone figure believe that he was a Black Knight. So that's just one of those weird. See, as a comic book geek, I would write an Avengers story right now that goes back to that 50 years ago almost. And there's that, and then there's the other one I would write would be Bruce Banner's robot from Tales to Astonish number 60 or 62. And that was kind of left behind in the so-called bottomless pit. And I thought that'd be kind of cool if it was still there and you just had this long deceased skeleton inside. Somebody else picked up the robot. But so pretty neat Kirby cover here. I love it. I really don't think Kirby designed Wonder Man. He looks very different. It's because this kind of stuff going on. I almost wonder if it's a Don Heck thing, because I could be 100% wrong, though. I'll admit that. Got Sal Buscema, the ever-reliable Sal Buscema. Him and John, they, and Rich Buckler, and Perez, and John Byrne, they kept Marvel running in the 70s. Until the phone rang, that is. I'll be darned if I start over again. What was it? The Sal Buscema issue, inked by Pablo Marcos. My first issue of Avengers, the regular series, was, I think, 130, which was like in the middle of the Celestial Madonna saga. There was a lot of yada 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 yada, very little action. And Sal Buscema is one of those pencilers that I really missed out. I would have loved to have inked him. Pablo's is inking again, still on the inking torch throughout the whole book here. This is 157 through 166. Because Sal was very much, how can I put it? He was dependent on the inkers. It's like the quality of the book would depend on the inkers if he wasn't inking himself. That's probably the best way to put it. If it was done by a lighter touch that really didn't contribute anything, then it would look pretty bland. But Pablo's is really bringing a lot of the neck muscles and all this stuff going on there. Vision's pissed off at Wonder Man because he has Wonder Man's brain patterns, and if Wonder Man comes back, does he really have his own mind? I'm not saying that quite right, but if you've been a fanboy long enough like I am, you'll understand. There's a lot to cover here. So, great stuff here. And here's the part where he says, I'm in a class only Thor can touch. And early on, there's a lot of smugness to Wonder Man, but then later on, when he has the fear of dying, then, because he, in his mind, experienced that when he was actually in a dormant state from his powers for years and years and years. So, that head's a little tall, ain't it? Kind of wonky, but who cares? Beautiful stuff, beautiful stuff. Then we have Graviton. Love that costume. I really wonder who did develop that. If that was Sal or if that was Romita who did a lot of that stuff. Because, Sal designed some great ones himself. So, this girl that he's basically trying to hold as hostage, he's like, you will be my woman, blah, blah, blah. And she can't help looking over her shoulder. See the Avengers, this other woman comes, says, behind you. Really, really cool. And the idea of getting a guy who can control gravity, affect the Vision's powers, that's a great character. Cap shield weighs tons, almost gets crushed. Really, really very slow. Here we go. Those pesky Yellow Jacket and Wasp characters. He spins a pencil around, takes them out. I'm just like, do we really have to waste 2-3 panels on them every friggin' issue? So they should have been out of the lineup for a long time, and then when it came back, have more of an impact rather than just being, brushed aside. So, okay, cover. I actually got this issue after I got 160 because I couldn't find 159, but got Sal again, and we got Black Panther showing up, and Thor. Graviton's holding them all hostage until Thor raises some hell. Good stuff. I gotta read the whole thing. The shooter really was fresh with ideas, flush with ideas at this time. And my only hang-up was, actually a big hang-up was when he came back to the Avengers. He was into doing like horrible shock kind of things. And he was kind of doing stuff in the comics that really was kind of tawdry. We're not even just talking about Yellow Jacket slap. There was just a lot of other stuff that I thought was very inappropriate and very off-putting. But this first run, I totally dig it. I pretty much have all the dialogue memorized. So this was the issue that I went to after 158, and then later on got 159. Somehow I found it in one of the many places near me. Drugstores or whatever. George Perez, baby! Wowee. Look at that. Wow. And the colors was smart enough to keep that old gray so everything pops out. There's too many times a lot of colors will give these elaborate colors and shines and such, and they compete with the foreground, which is a no-no because this is what you're supposed to look at, not this shit. This stuff is window dressing, and it's beautiful window dressing, but that's what it's there for, to frame the image. So, apparently they had beaten Graviton and missed it out on it, but, back then you expected really like just, there wasn't that many deaths back then, I guess the best way to put it. And, taking the Wizard back, he's this old guy with a heart attack who was the Quicksilver of his day in the Golden Age. Head for the lab, Jan. The battle convinced me that Yellow Jacket's powers need improving. No shit. Black Panther's there, thinking, like, I'm standing next to a lifeless. The man beside me I've known in the past is only a lifeless corpse. It's so a mystery. And the Beast is thinking back on the X-Men. The Grim Reaper, who was originally designed by John Buscema and then redesigned, I think by John Buscema or Rich Buckler. I can't remember who, because around issue 108, Grim Reaper returned, and he had like those Galactus type hockey stick things on his head. Oh, that costume. So much. Look how beautiful. It's just a casual view. It's so beautiful, and I'm about flat colors and line work, and there are modern miracles they could do with publishing now in comics. They could make flare effects till the cows come home, as they used to say. But this is my jam. This is my jam. Yeah, I think Street Kid said that about 30 years ago, and probably catch up to me. So, but Perez's storytelling just really makes it all work. And a lot of this was new to me. That was a great thing, too. I really knew almost nothing about Wonder Man. He only did appear once for issue 9, and then DC Comics had sued him. Excuse me. DC Marvel's sued Marvel because they had Wonder Woman. And then when Power Man came out, who'd eventually become Goliath, he was part of the Masters of Evil, he came out, and then DC came out with Power Girl, and there was a lawsuit for a while. So it's just wacky, and the characters are like not the least bit similar. But Wonder Woman, she still had even if the book didn't sell that great, she was still a very marketable character. You'd see on Slurpee cups, you'd see her on Underoos, and just all kinds of toys and such. So I love those goggles. So bit of a mistake there, pulling his mask down, but he actually has just one hand to use. This was in the official Marvel Handbook No Prize Awards that came out in the 80s. So, wow. Wonder Woman's one of my top, and I like this too. It's like, he's got a hairy chest, and that sort of thing wasn't really drawn that much. And later on, John Byrne would make Wolverine a real hairy bastard. He had it all over his arms and shit. So, and I love little things like this in the background, like that. I don't know if Perez drew that in there, but that kind of stuff's always fun to add. Then you get the Ant-Man. I've seen, I don't know who owns this cover, but there's a fortune of a bounty out on it because it's just so iconic. And again, subdued colors, so you can see this. You focus on this. And for the first time, somebody realizes that Ant-Man could pretty much kick some friggin' ass. And it wouldn't be followed up on until later when the next Ant-Man, Scott Lang, co-created by David Michelinie and Bob Layton, brought a whole fresh idea to Ant-Man. I love that outfit. That's so 70s. That may seem really absurd, nowadays, but in the 70s, that would not really be too crazy for someone going to a disco or something like that. She's got the heady eye makeup or shadow. Really, really cool stuff. Here comes Ultron. Good old Ultron. Amazing. I've seen that repurposed on different, that pose of hers on different, I don't know. There wasn't a lot of marketing back then, so maybe it was a sticker, maybe it was a trading card, who knows. So, this other thing Pablo Marcos did a lot was this cross-hatching, and it really worked. You wouldn't think it would, but he was just gifted enough to do that. And who else but like Perez would think to do this sort of shot? I reread this a billion times. What's funny is Perez was always kind of like pushing the boundaries on nudity. The first, when Patsy Walker became the Hellcat, he had the Avengers turn their backs, Iron Man and Cap, while she got out of her clothes and into the Hellcat costume. And there was other things. It was funny. Marvel was really funny about showing naked bodies, like when Gwen Stacy clone came out of her, what do you call those things? Incubator. She was naked, but had strategically placed shadows. It's so funny. But this is a page I would love to have just for that Iron Man right there. And all the buildings. Black Panther navigating the cities easy as can be. Wonder Man's all pissed off. But then, death to Ultron. Verily, the night we shall avenge our slain comrades, or taste death's bitter cup ourselves. And here we go, boys and girls. Why, I never even considered the possibility of dying. But he's serious. I know it. Thor's prepared to die. He expects to die tonight, unless we win against a foe he's told me is invincible. A foe who's already killed 4 Avengers. They were in a coma, but to everybody at the time, we assumed they were dead. So, dramatic entrance. First Black Panther, then Thor, then Iron Man, and then Wonder Man in that crazy garish costume that Perez designed. But I loved it. It was pretty spiffy. So, this isn't as easy as I thought as it would be. I feel empty, as if I'm watching myself from outside, like I'm not really here. And Ultron senses the hesitancy of Wonder Man and says, "You will be the easier victim." Iron Man threatens to destroy Jocasta, and I cannot argue with success, and yet you're ploy with the girl. Yes, there's little honor in a victory that is won by Stellar Panther. Like you said, it worked. That cross-hatching, loving it. And we go to a fill-in issue, which could have almost been the Champions, because Champions are featured prominently, and George Tuska was doing the art duties on and off on Champions. And you got Pablo Marcos again, saving the day, tying it all in. Got a George Perez cover, and some late period Tuska where he basically does like slugfests. Yeah, he likes to do that kind of stuff. That's his strength. And let's see. I mean, it's neat and all, but it's like towards. It's sort of like Tuska had sort of a license to. There's nothing wrong with a license to draw what you want, but he was given license to like draw as much stuff as fast as he can, and you don't always get the best results that way. So there's Perez cover. I look inside and see this John Byrne guy, who I do like, but I'm so pissed off as a kid, thinking, "Oh, that's not Perez. I've been jerked around by that cover." And the story reads really well. Byrne was already doing, he was doing Iron Fist. He was doing all kinds of fill-ins on different books. And, in a smaller book, he did a fill-in on Daredevil. He did a fill-in on, I think the last issue of Tigra and Marvel Chillers and some other stuff. I'm not sure. But, it was one of the silly things, like, he wasn't Perez, so I got hung up on the art, but the story was told at least as well as Perez, because both Byrne and Perez, they were like-minded in advancing superhero comic format. Not necessarily format, just a new fresh coat of paint, I guess is the best way to put it. So, here comes Yellow Jacket and the Wasp. I give them 2 panels, and then they're gone. So, a little Perez there that Byrne nods to. And Wonder Man, or Power Man, the original Power Man, throws a car up, takes out Wasp. Wonder Man's like, no, you didn't, I'm not afraid of you. Woof. You called me Power Man? Yeah, I am, again. And this was weird as a kid. I could not relate to this, but Wonder Man reels, staggered by a power that shouldn't be. His confidence of a moment before shattered. He hesitates. He's freezing up. And Hank Pym decides, hey, I'm going to take that bastard out for Jan. And he does. He hurts him anyway. But again, it's like, he distracted him for a while. There's no clear wins with Yellow Jacket, unfortunately. That is one of the most amazing costumes, courtesy of Byrne, who would go on to create billions of great costumes. But in 1977 or 78, I think this is, that was really cutting edge. In fact, I saw, I think Marvel, I don't know if it's Marvel Legends, whatever, has a toy based on this costume, and I may just get that because it's super spiffy. So there you got Perez cover. I look inside, it's not Perez, but the book just is so, it's so attractive, and the story just keeps on moving that it really doesn't matter. It was just a stupid thing in the back of my brain. And guess what? Yellow Jacket zaps Count Nefaria, and he gets caught in the next panel. I hated that so much. They should have just let them off the team for a while, bring them back, do something new with them. So Wonder Man can't even budge Nefaria, and he gets slammed into the Avengers headquarters. What is? Like, what need do I have for money? Iron Man shows up late to the game, and he gets his way into the debris, and he's the chairman, and Cap's getting really pissed off, and so is Wanda. They're like, you can't be a leader in absentia. This way, like, Iron Man for a long time was kind of treated with kid gloves until Nick Laney, Bob Layton, and John Romita Jr. took on, but this was a little bit before that. Iron Man was all the way up on his power and was keeping Nefaria, really like holding him back. He was like, it's working. My strength is being amplified to an unbelievable level. Only seconds before it fades, though. No, I'm the mightiest being on Earth. I will beat you as soon as I crush Thor. But it was a limited time, and then it's like, let's see. But no such luck until Thor shows up at the end. How about that for a dramatic last page? Pretty cool. I'm not keen on this. Arnie Chan's a great artist, but I really don't like him making Perez. It's just cross purposes. Chan's more organic, and Perez is more clean and precise. So, and this may seem like an awkward splash, but it's like a mirror image to the previous splash, which had him going towards you. Really clever stuff. That Byrne guy, he's going to go places one day. And the ending is just really cool. The Avengers just holding him back. Even Thor can't take him down. They're weakening him. But the Vision goes a full mile above, increases his mass to the density as much as he can. Render my body as hard as a purest diamond and fall. Boom. This was really, really amazing. I mean, this was a great takedown. And Nefaria's still alive, but he'll be out for a while. And that's it for now, but this goes into the story with the Korvac saga, which I liked a lot, but Perez only did a couple of issues and David Wenzel took over. It's still a great story, but Dave Wenzel, he was a very good artist for the team. Like, he knew how to make people, but his stuff just wasn't interesting. It was serviceable. You could tell what's going on. He was a good artist as far as drawing a team, which is very, very hard, to get all these players in it. And I'm not even talking every panel. It was just once in a while, but it was a big letdown. So, but even though Pablo was inking them too for the most part. So this is my favorite era of the Avengers, the Bride of Ultron. Okay, it's just my goofy indulgence, and I did buy this in Marvel Masterworks when it came out, of course. Because, of course. That's it, everybody. And hope you like my ramblings. Just having fun, reading some old comic books, and sharing my enthusiasm with you. And you take care, everybody. Oh, real quick. Please check to see if you're still subscribed, because YouTube's been screwing with a lot of people with a much higher subscription count than I have. And so just make sure you're still subscribed. Please hit like, click the notification bell, and leave a comment. Leave plenty of comments. I welcome comments. I love to hear from other fans, such as myself. And you may be correcting me on something, or maybe I stimulated something in the back of your brain that makes you say, oh yeah, I remember this part too. So, hey, I will talk to you all later.